All right, welcome everybody. Woo, that was a little bit intense. So I'm Britta Timler, for those of you who don't know me. And tonight we're talking about the Seventh Heaven Collection. And probably a lot of you have not heard of this collection. It's actually, I was pulling the bottles this week to get ready for this class. There's a lot of blue labels. So we'll be talking about these. I think that used to really mean something. But I think a lot of times the blue labels and even the purple labels are more emotional supportive oils. Okay. I don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of my guess. So I found a CD that Gary had done. I don't even know when it was, probably in early 2000s. And I listened to that. And so some of the information I got from that, some of it I got from the reference guide, and some of it's just from experience. So that's what we're going to talk about as we share each oil. If you have your own stories that you want to share of how you use them or why you love that oil, we would love to hear that as well. So hopefully you all know that oils help with physical and spiritual conditions, right? And when I say spiritual, it's kind of the mental health as well as our relationship with God, right? And so they can open us. Let me think of it, because I know that sometimes people get hung up on the words and on the names of these oils. And, like the bottle of forgiveness, we don't, a lot of times when I do the feelings kit, we talk about forgiveness and people are like, can an oil make you forgive? Come on, right? And we get hung up on that because some of us want to hold on to our anger, right? We might have righteous anger. We want to hold on to it. So the oil in itself won't make us forgive, but the frequency of the oil. So how Gary put these together, which I believe was God, was divinely given to him, but how he put those together and the frequency of those oils help open our mind and shift our thinking, right? And that's what all of these oils are tonight, because we're going to talk about humility and awaken and gathering, dream catcher, inspiration. And I preface all this to say, don't get hung up on the name and think, wow, come on. Because an oil is not going to make you more humble. But if you have the spirit of pride and you want to hold on to that, but it might make you more open to being like, well, maybe I have something to learn in this situation, right? Maybe I don't know everything. And so it just shifts the frequency of us based on the frequency of the oils when we smell them. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm getting nods, at least from here. So I'm hoping that all of you agree as well. So we all have our favorite oils we grab when we're feeling stressed, hurt, overwhelmed, maybe rushed, vulnerable, whatever. And if I asked, I'm sure you guys could all share your own. So hopefully you can. And those of you online, I would love for you just to type in what oils you use when you're feeling any, what are your go-to oils? We kind of talked about this earlier. But I would love to hear your go-to oils. So this Seventh Heaven collection, and this isn't an actual collection you can purchase, but this is a collection, I think it might have been years ago that you could purchase it, but you can purchase all of these individually, and they come in both 5 and 15 mLs, okay? I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're different sizes, which helps to make some of those more economical. But these all, as using them together, well, let me just preface it this way. Using them separately, some of them are like, oh, that's kind of sneaky. Like some of them are not my favorite. Okay. I'm just going to be honest with you. But when I put them on all together, and think about, okay, I will go over where to put them and everything in a minute. But when I start putting these on, it's like, oh, and each one goes on my hand and I smell it and I'm like, oh, I really love this, right? Some of them I love individually. Like the very first one is Sacred Mountain. It's one of my very favorite oils. But then the other ones, as they all combine, it's really divine. Okay. And so I just say that to be like, if you don't like the smell of one, just put it on anyways, because I think you're going to love it. So this collection, all these specific blends, Gary put together to enjoy feelings of tranquility, allowing oneself to be in a space of higher awareness. Okay. And so again, it's that higher frequency of the oils that's bringing it in so that we can maybe be more open, to dreaming again, or to, expanding like what I can see, my vision right here. I can open it up to bigger and bigger things. Right. Using essential oils goes back thousands of years. The Egyptians used oils for spiritual and religious rituals. They actually believed that the more fragrance they wore with oils, the closer it brought them to gods, and it was more pleasing to their gods. Okay. And if you look at Bible, the Holy Scriptures, it talks a lot in there about offering a fragrance to God, right? And a pleasing fragrance and the aromas. And a lot of times, oils are mentioned throughout the Bible. And I think this is a biblical thing. It's not just like, the woo-woo stuff that as Christians, sometimes we get hung up on. Okay. And I'm speaking for myself, because when I first got started, I was hung up on it a lot. But anyway, back to the Egyptians, they adorn themselves with oils on a daily basis. Hopefully we are too in today's world, the more that we learn about them. And they literally bathed and had massages with oil several times a day. They actually wore head combs that were saturated with beeswax and fat and oils as well. And then as the heat of the day or their body heat would melt that into their hair, as Gary is talking about. I'm like, oh, that's kind of gross, right? But that's their culture. But just think about, if we continue to apply oils all day long, or as biblically, the Roman soldiers would have bathed in big vats of oils, because then when they got out and they go about their day, what happens? It starts coming out your pores, right? You start sweating, and instead of smelling stinky and sweaty, you would smell like, Valor or lemongrass or whatever, right? So all of these, they would do this because the oils work on the limbic system in your mind. So it touches actually the pineal, the thalamus, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and all the glands in the brain that stimulate the knowing or desire to meditate and pray. Oils cause us to feel like we want to pray or to be spiritual. They stimulate the mind and create feelings that bring us into the space of doing that which is right, and helps find inner peace, communication. And it's like the tuning knobs on a radio. So if you tune into higher frequencies, it just becomes more clear, right? And the more, and I, a lot of times I can be in a really bad mood, and I get out Sacred Mountain, and all of a sudden I'm like, or stress away, right? I mean, most of us have probably experienced stress away. And I remember walking around the ER when the stress was super high and people were cranky and yelling at each other. And I literally would grab nurses' wrists sometimes and just swipe them with stress away. And they thought I was crazy, which was fine. But I would say, go just smell your wrists. And so they'd kind of do this, and they're like rolling their eyes, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, right. And I would watch their stress level just start to come down, because these oils work on our mind and our body in a way that we can't override that, right? Because it's just it's the frequency of those oils that's helping us with that. So, so we want to tune into the higher frequencies, especially for communication. And that's what pure, unadulterated essential oils will do, right? They'll help us tune into those higher frequencies. Now, a lot of times people will cheat and they'll use the cheap oils, right? Because I'm saving money. But just know that unadulterated oils, which is what Young Living is, works almost like an amplifier and a transmitter of frequency. So it actually brings you into a higher frequency, which means that you function higher, as well as your body. So you're going to be in a higher level of health versus being depleted and start to get sick, right? If you're using cut or low grade oils, those actually produce similar frequencies, meaning lower frequencies, and they tune you into lower frequencies physically as well as spiritually as well, okay, too. So it is really important always to use good quality oil, okay, and know your source, right? And hopefully you all know Seed to Seal, and you've done some research on that, and really are, have understood what Young Living does and goes through to get the quality of oils that we offer. And I just am so thankful for that. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is Sacred Mountain, my very, very favorite oil. And you can put this one, I love to put it on my wrists, and when I'm using it all together with this, so, and you can put a drop, and you guys are welcome to use this. I like to put it on the back of my neck. Okay, so brain stems at the bottom of your hairline, rub it up and down. I'm going to toss this to you. And if you want to move over toward Judy, then you don't have to reach. That's fine too. Okay, so Gary created this blend because he loved the mountains, and there was something special and sacred for him going into the mountains, right? And if you've ever gone from the city up, gotten away, gone out to the woods or whatever, when we reconnect with nature, it really is calming and peaceful on our bodies and on our minds and on our spirits, right? So Gary says it's easier to communicate in the mountains, is what he found. He found that moving out of the static and interference of the bustle of city streets and people, if you've ever been around people all day long, you understand that when you go home in the quiet of your house, you're like, can breathe, right? So imagine if you go remove yourself even more from the 5G, the Wi-Fi's, all the demands on our time, right? Go up into the mountains where people can't reach us, and we truly could be there and communicate with God, right? What could happen then? Or if we could truly be there and dream, maybe it's just for dreaming for ourselves, what could happen and how could that be for us? So when he did that, when he got away to the mountains, he found that being in the quiet space to communicate and draw on the powers of heaven was even more amplified for him. Okay. And I think we would all agree with that, right? I mean, I think there were many times he went to the mountain and then came back and created a blend because it was like all of a sudden it just all clicked and he just knew. So we all need quiet space to meditate, pray, and communicate. So when we inhale the fragrance of Sacred Mountain, we're inhaling conifer oils of fir, spruce, pine, cedarwood, and then it has the flower of ylang ylang. So it's got a little higher note of ylang ylang. Okay. Those conifer trees are very grounding. They are stable. They spread their roots strong, right? Because they live in cold cultures or cold climates, I guess. They withstand a lot of the heat, but also the cold temperatures, right? And so to do that, you've got to have deep roots that you can still get the water to pull up and to be nourished and whatnot, right? And then the ylang ylang is revered in Oriental countries because it balances masculine and feminine energies of the body, allowing us to communicate better. Okay. And so again, with this combination, it's just really sweet. I just love this combination. And when I smell it, I'm just like, I just breathe and I can just feel, myself calming down or just, like angst or turmoil or anything. It just starts to relax. And I feel like I can breathe deeper, right? When I use it. So you inhale this, remind yourself of being in the mountains. You feel the quietness. Maybe you have a desire to communicate. Judy has hers on a little keychain. And then of course, these oils also contain physical benefits too. So if you don't know what those are, I can't really talk about them tonight because, we can't talk about that stuff when it's recorded. But look up those individual oils and you're going to be amazed at all the different things that you can do it with them. Well, I will tell you a couple of things. I guess, because it is in my notes. I was thinking I didn't put it in there, but they're beneficial. So just breathe it, if you breathe it in, what system are you going to help support? Respiratory system, right? If you know anything about a lot of these conifer oils, they're really supportive of our immune system as well. They allow our lungs to expand and contract. They breathe freer and deeper, especially in times of stress. And actually for the lungs, it helps with the dilation of the biliary and capillary action in the lungs for a greater oxygen exchange in the blood. And it enables the lungs to expand and contract. You can diffuse these, wear topically. And again, I love to put it on the brainstem, especially if I'm doing this. And then I also always put it on my wrists and I diffuse it a lot because it just sets that atmosphere, right? Okay. Next is inspiration. This one we're going to put ideally on the crown of our head. So I'm just going to, pour a little bit, shake a little bit on the crown of your head, which is back of your head, right? So this blend was formulated to help find a calm space in our minds. It brings us closer to the creative center where our higher intuition operates. These oils were traditionally used by the Native Americans to enhance spirituality, prayer, and inner awareness. It helps bring people mentally into the space where you can feel you can communicate with God through prayer. So if you're ever feeling stuck or stagnant, or sometimes, like God's not listening, nothing seems to be going through. Some inspiration, frankincense also is really great to put back here on the back of your head to kind of just break bonds and holds. But this is a great one to just put it on there and then pray and open up to prayer and just see what may happen. Inspiration contains cedarwood, black spruce, myrtle, coriander, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, frankincense, bergamot, vetiver, ylang ylang. Remember we talked about that one, and geranium. Physically, inspiration can actually help the kidney and urinary systems. So you can apply that topically over your kidney and Vitaflex areas and use it as compresses. Okay. And then of course, to diffuse it if you're feeling uptight, tense, irritable, depressed, these oils in this blend and the frequency of these oils reaches into the deep recesses of your mind and brings forward where we can humble ourselves, kneel in prayer, and ask for direction of things we may need. Okay. And inspiration may help you identify what it is that you need as well. Okay. And so, it could be like, okay, I'm in turmoil. I don't know what I need, but it's one of those days I'm feeling kind of maybe blah, and I don't know, like how to move forward. It's sprinkling, putting inspiration on your head, putting it in the diffuser, putting it on your wrists, and just, again, putting it on your hands and smelling each one. You're going to love it. Okay. So this is a great blend. Sometimes it's seasonal. I didn't check to see if it was in stock right now. So hopefully maybe one of you guys can check. Okay. Now we're going to go, and I think it comes in a 5 ml now, just so you know. Okay. I have an old bottle, which is a 15 still, which I am hoarding. I have a couple of those. You buy it when it comes in stock. That's my extra tip. So Awaken, this is the next one. Okay. This is actually a blend of blends. So this was the first blend that Gary created from blends, and it has joy, forgiveness, present time, dream catcher, and harmony. Okay. So think about that. Joy is going to uplift you, right? Forgiveness is going to help you be more willing to forgive, to come into and harmony as well, be in harmony with other people, right? And forgiveness, remember, sometimes we just need to forgive ourselves. A lot of times we just think about, I need to forgive other people, but sometimes we've failed ourselves, or we have high expectations, and let ourselves down. And sometimes that's where we need to start with forgiveness so that we can accept other people, right? And other people's forgiveness. This is one, it's good to put across your forehead, across the temples. And then just smell it, of course, too. Present time will help you, especially if you're working with forgiveness. Present time helps you bring you back into the present, because oftentimes when we're dealing with the forgiveness thing, we're beating ourselves up over things of the past or things yet to come, and we can only really deal with things right now, right? Because I can't control what happened before or what's going to happen tomorrow. I can only control what now. Dreamcatcher, I'm going to talk about in just a couple minutes, and then harmony, again, just, bringing ourselves more into balance with other people. So Awaken, this is a very economical oil. Okay. With all these blends in it, it's really not that expensive. Many times we feel ourselves stuck, not able to move forward, maybe not able to do what we're dreaming about, or achieving goals, or even setting goals. How many of you, I've written a few of my goals, but I still really haven't written the goals that I know I need to write, right? To move things forward in my life. So why are we not doing that? Because I'm still stuck a little bit. I need some more inspiration. I need to awaken what it is that I truly want, right? We may not have the energy, determination, or commitment to work toward achieving our goals either. And because of the chemicals we're bombarded with in the world through food, air, water, environment, and other things, just, 5G and all that, it suppresses the mind and body functions. So if we want to be an achiever, we must be willing to take risks and realize while doing that, we may stumble, make mistakes, or fall and fail, but we can get back up again. We can start over, right? So we have to keep going forward, because life doesn't stand still. And if we're not moving forward, Gary used to say, and I think, I have it here. He would say, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Right. And when you think about that, because it's not that he was going to jump, but he was willing to risk. He was willing to take chances, and he failed a lot, but he got back up, and then he succeeded a lot. Right. And I think that we all can probably recognize times in our lives, maybe when you were a little kid, maybe as an adult, that when something you were really passionate about, you were willing to take chances, and maybe you failed a lot, you learned a lot in the process, and you hopefully succeeded a lot as well. Or if you didn't, that you learned enough that you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do it this way this time. And then you had the success, right? All of that is awakening all that stuff in our brain to help us sort through that. Isn't that interesting how God created that? So these oils, again, the frequency of them bring us up into a higher frequency where maybe we're more aware of what's going on, or we're more willing to let go of the things that don't work and move to a new path. Does that make sense?
My son likes to sleep with that.
He likes to sleep with Awaken.
It is the user.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good.
He sleeps really well.
He sleeps really well. That's awesome. See? And so that's one of the ways that definitely you could do. And you might want to have him add Dreamcatcher, and Gary also said Into the Future was another good one, because then, it helps us move and dream, because it's going to awaken the dreams, right? And awaken what he wants out of life, maybe. Okay. So let me see. All right, so use this as we breathe it in, apply it to our temples. You can picture the frequency in your mind, bringing you to a space to awaken your highest potential and go through the various transitions that you need, okay? So Awaken stimulates right brain creativity. This amplifies the function of the pineal and pituitary glands in balancing the energy centers of the mind, and it helps us identify our true desires and how best to pursue them, okay? So it's that creativity center is, and I can't remember, like right brain, left brain, all that, but just to start dreaming again, right? And to start seeing ourselves moving forward in life. Because I think a lot of us, and I know for me, I've really been dealing with this a lot more recently, that I just feel stuck. And I don't know if it's any one thing or any, like I keep looking for like the magic thing that's going to make me feel better, right? And get me unstuck. And I don't know, I don't think I'm probably the only one that's doing this, right? Because I bet everybody kind of feels in some area of your life. And so Awaken would be one of those oils you could use to maybe get unstuck. And really this whole combination, that's what I love about this, is that it's really great options. Okay, so like I said, diffuse it. You can put it on your temples, your forehead, massage it from the right to left across the temples, and then relax and visualize, meditate, and breathe. So, and don't get weird about all, when I say visualize or meditate, don't be like, oh, that's woo-woo stuff. Visualize is like, close your mind. We did this on Monday. Think about your to-do list that you have every day, right? So close your eyes, because when you think about how many things are on your to-do list, do you feel heavy? And do you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this stuff done, right? Yeah, you want to crawl back in bed. So instead, close your eyes and visualize like, this list is like every single one of those lines is checked off. How do you feel then? Like when you see like all those checks, you're like, oh, I can breathe, right? I feel lighter. I mean, like literally my shoulders just came back. Did you see that? And I'm just talking you through it. But when we really stop and do that, then we see it. When I open my eyes and go to my to-do list, it's like it's already done. And so then I'm not like, oh, I have to go do the dishes. It's like, whoa, I get to go do the dishes because this is done. And it just changes. Okay, not like that, but it changes how you feel. You guys, they're laughing at me. I hope you're getting a kick out of it too. The screens are all off. But it changes how we respond to things, right? And so just, that's what I mean when I say visualize. Don't get weird about it, but just think about, okay, it's already done, or this is my list, I'm done. And how do I feel when I'm done? Because hopefully you feel lighter, right? And you feel better. You feel at that higher frequency, which is what we're talking about. Okay. All right. Next is gathering. This is one of those oils. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a real fan of it separately, but putting it on. And this one you're going to put on your temples. So kind of like, I just put it over here and then smell it again, so like every time I put this on with my finger, I smell it and I'm like, oh, okay, now I don't mind it so much because it's mixing with all the other oils. So gathering was created to help us overcome the bombardment of chaotic energy that alters our focus and takes us off our path toward higher achievements. So this has, and when this was created initially with galbanum, which is a Bible oil. And I want to say Inspiration and maybe another oil was created with spikenard, which are amazing Bible oils, but they're no longer available. Okay. Because they can't source them. They're not, and Young Living isn't going to, skimp on quality. So they actually have changed these over the years, some of these blends, and they put in Northern Lights Black Spruce, which if you know anything about that, that's a really high frequency oil. And it really, and again, think about Northern Lights. This is in the upper sections of Canada, and it's in Northern Lights. I don't know. It's I'm blanking on the actual name of the town. But they're literally, the Northern Lights are coming down, all the energy from the Northern Lights coming down into these trees, and it goes through the trees and into the roots, right? In British Columbia, yeah. And so it's so powerful with all this extra energy that God has sent to the, in the Aurora Borealis. Yeah. So all of that's coming down and into these trees, okay, which is, so it brings up the frequency even more. It has vetiver, which is really an earthy, grounding blend or single oil. And then it's combined with frankincense and sandalwood. And there's a couple other ones. I can't remember what else is in there. So these oils all help increase the oxygen around the pineal and pituitary glands, bringing greater harmonic frequency to receive the communication we desire. It helps us, just to think about it, it's gathering our emotional and our spiritual thoughts, helping us achieve our potential. Okay, it brings people together on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level for greater focus and clarity. It helps one stay focused, grounded, and clear in gathering motivation for self-improvement. It can stimulate the mind to focus and collect our thoughts and bring into the center of our focus. So gathering helps, like I said, filter through the chaotic bombardment, incoherent frequencies, misinformation, and it creates a direct pipeline to information we desire from God. Gathering can be diffused or worn as an aftershave. You can put it on your wrists, wear it as perfume if you really like it. Again, I think it smells better with all these other ones added to it. But when you think about it, and again, just smell it and stop and breathe and just, does it feel, do you notice a difference? Do you feel like, okay, I want to gather my people in with me. I want to, the people I care about, or that I want to, I'm more open to maybe meeting with people. Cause maybe you're somebody who's like, yeah, I just want my personal space, stay away. It may help, bring you to be more willing to gather with people. It may bring inspiration. And again, you can use all these blends together. So you can use them individually. You can certainly diffuse, but you can also use them together. All right, we're almost done here. 3 more. Humility. Okay. Gary used to say that people always want abundance, but we need to start with humility because we have to be humble first before God can bless us with the abundance, right? We have to be willing to get, and some of us have a pride issue. Okay. And I know that God's been making that clear to me in a few areas of my life. And then I'm like, oh, it's hard to be humble though. It's painful to be humble. So, but it's good. So, again, the name doesn't mean you're buying humility in the bottle. Okay. It's bringing you the frequency that maybe I'm willing to be more humble. I'm willing to let go of my pride. I'm willing to, I'm willing to be open to what God leads me to be. Okay. So often we lack humility necessary to bring us into the spiritual realm we desire to have. Some of us actually think that we're gods, in our own right. And, which is definitely not how God intended it to be. But it also doesn't mean that if we're not humble that we're bad, okay? Because it's none of that is this, but it's just that we're not in right alignment with God if we're stuck in pride. So when we're sick, depressed, angry, or stressed, any of those means that we're not in a humble space, okay? Just as much as if we're pride and arrogant. And so think about how many of us are sick, angry, depressed, stressed. A lot of us, right? So there's some. We all need this. We all need some more humility. Being humble or with humility means that we're actually more in control of our emotions. Oh, do I need to tell you where to put it? Donis will apply it to your ears. Put it on your ears. And the ears, if you've ever looked in the reference guide, there's a whole VitaFlex chart on the ears, right? Tip of the right ear is releasing things about your parents. Okay, right here. So y'all need to put it on here. I really need to do cedarwood and hyssop, but humility will help too. Okay, when we're in control of our emotions and we're feeling humble, we are in a teachable space. When we tune into the higher frequencies of the spiritual realm and are in humility at the same time, then we can receive greater direction and be a greater teacher, also bring in greater service to others. So humility with this oil was created with the intent and purpose to allow us to be in that space. So we can be a better listener, a better teacher, a better servant, right? All of that requires us to be humble. So the frequency of the oil stimulates the pineal and pituitary glands. It creates secretions of endorphins, peptides, and neurotransmitters that create the feeling down inside the body. Having humility and forgiveness helps us heal ourselves and our earth. Humility is an integral component in obtaining forgiveness, and it's needed for a closer relationship with God. So through the frequency and fragrance of this blend, you may arrive at a place where healing can begin. That could be physical, it could be mental, it could be spiritual, it could be all three, right? So humility is great to inhale it, to wear on the temples or behind your ears or even on your ears. You can massage them. And again, this is an integral part of the body for application, especially when working to enhance mind functions. So I don't, just play with your ears and just rub that in. And, have you ever seen like little kids when they mess with their ears a lot and they just play with them, right? And they're stimulating all those VitaFlex points on their ears without even knowing it. And so if you notice somebody who like constantly is at one point in their ear, you should look it up in the reference guide. You're going to have a lot of insight into what's going on, because there's a whole lot of emotional stuff that's going on in our ears too when we mess with them. Let's see. Okay, so all the oils in this, it's neroli, melissa, and think about the high frequency of some of these. Melissa's a really high frequency, rose, frankincense, ylang ylang, geranium, myrrh, coriander, bergamot, and northern lights, black spruce, and vetiver. They all have very specific individual purposes, and in companionship, they create the frequency that just in inhaling the oil brings a contrite spirit. So again, we're humble, right? And when we're humble, God could bless us with even more abundance, right? And more health. I mean, abundance through health, through wellness, through finances, spiritual, all of the above. All right, dream catchers next. They say to diffuse this mainly, or put it on your pillow at night, but you can put it on your wrists right now, okay, or on your temples, whatever, your neck. We have to be able to dream. And many of us, again, we've already talked about this, but many of us have stopped dreaming. We think that, maybe, and Gary even talked about, maybe as a little kid, you were told, quit daydreaming, pay attention, right? Come on, be present here. Maybe we tell ourselves that I got to focus. But we really, actually, God created us to dream. He created us to, because when we're dreaming of potential of what could be, of the blessings that and the maybe the new directions we want to go, and getting out of our path, right, our tunnel. And we have to be able to dream to do that. Daydreaming is an important part of the creative processes, and Gary says we always need to be in a space to daydream. So part of visualization and creating that which we desire to have is daydreaming, and it's healing and helpful to the mind. And he talked a lot about having mini mind vacations, and think about it in that way, because how many of us are just so stressed with the to-do list? I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And we're so focused, right? Focus. But our mind is constantly focus and pressed. And instead, if we allow it 5 minutes to daydream, to wander, not to scroll social media, because that's not daydreaming, right? But to truly just wander and just, close, like maybe you just listen to a song and you zone out. That's daydreaming, right? Because we're allowing our mind to relax. And then when you come back to your task, are you ever like, oh, I just got that done. Like I just whipped right through it. It just was so easy this time instead of this hard, right? And that's part of what this daydreaming can do, what Dreamcatcher can do. When we dream, it enhances and filters out the garbage that we don't want to dream about or pull in and visualize. Okay, so we have to, again, allow that. Whatever we hold in our minds, we will create or attract to us. So again, if all I'm thinking about is the negative, what's coming? All the negative, right? Sometimes we hold negative thoughts in our mind, even in a daydream state. So Dreamcatcher helps us to let go of negative attributes in that daydream state of mind, so we don't draw that to us or create that through magnetic energy. So it's great to put this on your pillow. You can certainly diffuse it. Gary actually talked about using it with Awaken in the diffuser. So you put them together and it can awaken the dreams, right, that we would have. So just, yeah, play with it. Now, the first time we ever used Dreamcatcher, Kirk and I were on a trip and I had the craziest dreams. And then I was like, I'm not going to use it for a long time. And I didn't use it for a long time. So it kind of freaked me out. But I've started using it again and it really is good. Okay. And it's really, so don't like let one experience freak you out and say, never again. Maybe you wait a month, or you wait a week and see, because again, we're changing all the time. We're never the same person today as I won't be the same person tomorrow as what I am today, right? Hopefully, if we're dreaming and if we're changing and we're, elevating our frequency up so that we're vibrating at a higher level. That's the whole goal. All right, last one, White Angelica. Y'all know what to do with this one? This is our shield, right? This is the one that I just put it in my hands, and sometimes I put a lot in my hands. And I literally apply it all over and even over my clothes. And I go down and I put it on my ankles and my feet because I want to walk, I want my feet to be shielded, my path to be protected, right? So I always think about this as the what am I thinking of? All I can think of is fruit of the spirit. It's not fruit of the spirit. The
Armor of God.
Thank you, the armor of God. I'm like, what's the words? I could think of breastplate of righteousness, all of those, but I couldn't think of the armor. So it's like my armor, right? My spiritual armor is White Angelica. So this is kind of interesting. This is something I learned listening to Gary. He said he created this with 18 oils. So there's 18 different oils in here, but they created in 2 different phases. So they mix half of it, half of the oils together. They chill them for 24 hours. And then they mix the other half of the oils together and they chill those for 24 hours. And then they mix them all together and chill again before they bottle it. Isn't that fascinating how, it's like, because if you just mix them all together, like how normally we would do, it's not going to be the same. And I don't know why, but that's how we got this blend of White Angelica. So when working and trying to be in a space of higher spiritual frequency or awareness, White Angelica was created for the purpose of protection. This creates an electrical field of purity, like a shield from the bombardment of negative energy that takes us off our spiritual path. This is something that if you are working with people that are negative, especially, you need to put this on before you go into the situation, ideally. When I did mental health, a lot of times we interviewed people in the size of a closet, basically. It was this little meeting space. And I remember walking out sometimes when I didn't use my oils, and I would walk out, and I remember one time I was like, oh my gosh, if I had this girl's life, I would be depressed too. I mean, like literally I was like this. And my coworker was like, you need to put on some oils. And I was like, yes, I do. Right. And so then I would use them. I'd remember for a while. And I remember another time, and thankfully I was in like a bigger ER room interviewing somebody that was really, really manic. And I came out of there and I was like, my coworker said, well, what was going on? I'm like, well, let me tell you what's going on. And I was this huge room, but like his energy was so powerful, right? Because again, I didn't protect myself. And so I just learned I've got to wear this oil, right? If you're working with kids, if you're a teacher, I see Alice on here, or if you're working with just people that, maybe it's just your family members that are just they're kind of downers, right? They're curmudgeons. Put this oil on and just see, it doesn't necessarily change them, right? But I'm not worried I'm not trying to change them. I'm trying to protect my energy, and so that I can live at a higher frequency, so that my body can function at a higher frequency. And I'm going to bless them as well, because they're going to, I'm the human diffuser, but just see if that doesn't help with some of your situations. So White Angelica can enhance the frequency of the body to create the protection. It enhances other oils used through the processes. So if you've ever done the Gary's Great Day Protocol, this is the last oil for that. If you've used the Raindrop Kit, this is in that kit, right? Because we want to protect ourselves. This is actually the first oil we put on, because when we're working on other people physically, we're in their energy field, right? And again, you can suck that all up. And sometimes that's not good it's not good for us, period. Not sometimes. So we always want to conclude a meditative state or prayer time in obtaining spiritual awareness with White Angelica, and it kind of seals that in. So if God's given you something, let's seal that in, right? Instead of just letting that float away, so to speak. Okay. So again, apply it as a shield around your body, around your head, around your mind, right? So make sure you're getting everywhere, protecting your body and your energy from those around you. So, yeah, that was a whole lot. Anointing is talked about in the Bible. And anointing was a sacred ritual when we put on when we put on these oils in the Seventh Heaven kit, or you put on the Bible kit, or whichever, feelings kit, whichever, we can put these on with the concept of anointing ourselves with sacred oils, because these are God gave us these plants. He gave us, all the oil. He gave Mary the knowledge that of how to combine these. And again, I really believe that he was divinely guided in creating these blends, like White Angelica, you put 9 oils together and then refrigerate it for a while. Like, how in the world do you come up with that, right? So God, he has given the oils and the plants and the oils to us for the special purpose. And so we can really enjoy this kit, or really whatever oils you're using, and find the benefits and excitement of feeling the changes coming into your life and enhancing your spiritual awareness and spiritual attunement. And each oil has benefits in supporting our physical needs, as well as protecting our bodies and supporting the respiratory, immune system, our endocrine system, which is our hormones, right? It can help with all of those. So no matter what we're doing with oils in this collection, you will experience and find benefits that are unique to you. And then remember to share those so that others have the opportunity to experiment with them and have experiences too. Okay. Because that was Gary's purpose in creating all of this. It wasn't just to make money. Although again, God has blessed Young Living abundantly, but the purpose is, and our purpose is, to get oils into every home, because yes, it will help us, but it helps how many of you have been helped because somebody shared oils with you, and you put them on, you were stinky for a little while, but all of a sudden you're like, I just feel better. I can just deal with that a lot better. I don't feel as stressed, or my knee doesn't hurt, or whatever it is that, whatever the reason is. And so this is just such a powerful way to easily share hope and options with people. And so if you're watching this for the very first time and you're like, I don't even use oils, I don't have a clue what you're talking about, but I'm kind of interested, you need to get with whoever shared this video with you and ask them for their affiliate link. And because we wanted you to be connected with them so that they will be your education. They will get you connected with their community, our community, hopefully, and where we can just continue to educate you and to share and to bless you and to guide you in how to best use these oils for yourself. Now, I have learned, though, sometimes the best when somebody's like, oh yeah, I grabbed the wrong bottle of oil and I just stuck it on, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, that's, hallelujah, help me. And I'm like, well, you used what for what? So it's okay to have those accidents too, because I think sometimes those are divine as well, right? But just remember that I love that with oils, we're not going to hurt ourselves with them, because they will work with our bodies. That's how God created them to be. So anyway, get with whoever shared this video with you, ask them for their affiliate link. There's lots of ways to get started. They can walk you through that. If they don't know how, then message me and I'll help you walk through that and get you connected with them as well, because we like to keep people connected and honor those relationships. If you are a member of Young Living or a current customer or a brand partner, hopefully you're getting your oils on Loyalty Rewards. It's a monthly program. It's the best way to get oils. It's the most economical because there's free stuff that you get. Even if it's just points that you get back, which is like money in the bank. And I love spending my money on more products because I'm going to do it anyways, and I love it when Young Living gives it to me for free. So we are so blessed that you watched this video. I hope you have a great night, and I can't wait to welcome you into the oily lifestyle soon. So have a great night.